In the morning hours of today, the 20th of August, 2025, it became a sad moment. In fact, one of the saddest moments in my life, to hear about the fact that the Almighty, it has pleased the Almighty God to summon the soul of my learned colleague and incidentally a senior within the fraternity, Advocate Haae Edward Phoofolo, to heaven. This coincided with my sitting in court while I was administering the divorce role. Advocate Ntlogi KC happened to come into court and requested me to stay the proceedings in abeyance for a while, for him to announce the sad news to me and through me to all members of the fraternity who happened to be involved in the divorce proceedings I was assessed with. I gave him the indulgence. It was then that he pronounced the sad news that one of the towering figures within the legal fraternity and in the different spheres of our lives as the Basotho people has left us. As I said, through having his soul summoned to heaven by the Almighty God. Immediately, I contemplated in retrospect, recalling how Advocate Phoofolo has made a mark in this kingdom. I recall years and years ago when I first heard about the concept of human rights. I happened to be attending church at Our Lady of Victory Cathedral in Maseru. When at the end of the Mass, the priest told the congregation that would be having a very important visitors who are going to orientate us about the phenomenal concept called human rights. I was one of those who waited for that moment. At that time, I hadn't enrolled into the legal studies journey. And the very concept touched me, because it was indeed new to me. K.C. Phoofolo introduced himself as an advocate with emphasis on the propagation of human rights as a human gospel, and also in the protection of human rights. I vividly recall, though it was ages and ages ago, that he, standing on the altar of the Almighty, standing on the pulpit rather, explained human rights as a human God-given endowment upon the mankind. I was impressed by that, saying human rights are a human endowment bequeathed upon us as a human God, as a human beings rather, by God the Almighty. And that resultantly everybody has a right to enjoy human rights and fundamental freedoms. I thenceforth looked at the man with admiration, admired his knowledge of law and his impressive linguistic commands as he was explaining the subject. Subsequently, the first time I had a physical encounter with him was when I was in the taekwondo sportsmanship. He was already wearing a black belt and seeking to advance to what is termed Dan 1. That means a step ahead of ordinary black belt. And at that time, I was made to understand that he was a governor. He was working in the central, central bank, yes, of Lesotho, as a legal advisor, and at that time holding fort for the governor of the bank. That reinforced my admiration of the man. I recall when I graduated from one belt to the other. I think it was from blue to red. He was already black and striving to obtain a higher belt. Coming to my interaction with him within the legal sphere, the man commanded a recognizable understanding of the substantive and the procedural dimensions of the law. It was very amazing when you'd see him synthesizing the two, and utilizing them as an instrument towards the advancement of the ideals of human rights, irrespective of whatever province of the law. The man was endowed with knowledge and with the art when articulating law for the advancement of justice. This is the man who realized the instrumentality of the law for it to engineer society into living with peace and harmony amongst the people. K.C. Phoofolo, as I rewind my thinking to the past, was also blessed with versatility. See, some of us perhaps happen to be rather, shall I say, parochial or limited, in our interaction. As for him, he also ventured into the politics in a very daring manner. He could break through the barriers which some of us could be intimidated, to go through, or even to test their viability. History would attest to the fact that at one stage he succeeded. Yes, he was able, through a revolution, through a revolution that had occurred in the country, he was able to reach the highest political seats in His Majesty's government. I have no doubt that the man had good dreams for the nation. It's just that the revolution short-lived on account of the intervention from SADC and other international organizations who thought that changes should be brought through democratic interventions rather than through revolution. But be that as it may, I synthesize the world of politics, in such a way that I discover that it is not only through democratic processes that the nation may achieve its ideals. Even through revolutionary adventures, the nation can head towards a successful destination. I'm not encouraging extraordinary extra constitutional means of achieving the ideals. But the reality demonstrates that there are instances where revolution has served as an instrument for the liberation of the people, or for laying down foundations towards a bright future. I keep on admiring the man and lament that the kingdom will now remain without Edward Haae Phoofolo, KC. May his soul, like that of the other towering legal giants, I recall figures like the late Mofuki, Cyril KC, our great attorney, Ndate Tsotsi, my brother Haae, who is one of the architects, outstanding architects of our jurisprudence, the Haae versus, His Majesty, among others. It's a landmark case. Ndati Kutu, who have just left us. A man whose academic work, his authorship of legal books, whose judgments speak volumes about the fact that God had blessed this nation. Unfortunately, it's just that we are not able to honor people who served as an endowment. That's the unfortunate part of it. Once again, may his soul and the rest of our colleagues who departed rest in peace.